Morning, everybody. Rich Malika here. I just want to share a little bit with you about the Serenity Prayer, staple in my life. And sometimes we can get so used to something that we don't value it, that we don't understand how it applies anymore. And I just want to refresh it for myself, if nobody else. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. This is hard. It sounds easy. Accept things. I can't change them. I can't change them. Apply that. Apply that to life. I can't change when someone dies. That alone. How hard. How challenging. And this isn't about forcing ourselves into a faster way of grieving. We do horribly with that in our culture, by the way. We try to make it by next Tuesday, it's done. That's not what this is about. This isn't about not feeling our feelings. We're allowed to hurt. I was taught, you accepting something doesn't mean liking it, and it doesn't mean not feeling something about it. It means acknowledging that it is. Carl Jung says that all neuroses is from an avoidance of legitimate pain. Buddhism, noble truth of Buddhism is that life is pain. And psychology is taking those thoughts and is now talking about radical acceptance as a way to diminishing our addictions, our mental health symptoms, healing our trauma. And this prayer is coming from the Christian tradition with the same thought. There are things in this life that we must accept, even though we don't have to like them, and even though we can feel something about them. And we're, spoiler, we're going to get to the part where there are things that we can do, but there's some things we can't. There are some things out of our control. Our past is out of our control. Wasted time, regrets, things that people did to us that were unjust. The fact that they happened, we can't change. And there are patterns of relating to it that aren't producing of life, that are only producing of more hurt, more shame, more abuse, more unhealth, that are only robbing us of more life in our rejecting of them as a factual truth that we cannot alter. I cannot rewrite my childhood. No one can rewrite their childhood. It's fixed. There are things we can do about it now that produce life. There are things that we can do about it now to heal, to acknowledge, to give voice to the truth of what we experienced. That gives us dignity. But rejecting it as real, rejecting it as something we need to internalize, assimilate, process, it doesn't help. It only produces more hurt. I've seen people get stuck for 20 years in the same way of relating to something, in the same way of not accepting it. And I've seen them in the bars. I've seen them coming into my rehab, and they're still stuck in a place of not accepting. And I don't blame them. I don't want to accept the same things. I struggle with it too, because it's horror, some of it. If it was helpful to reject it, if it was helpful to go on a circular loop for decades over it, if it was helpful to just dismiss it as something I don't want to deal with, then I would encourage us all to do that. It only hurts us more. We need to accept the things that we cannot change. And some of that is done through talking about it. Some of that is done through praying about it. Some of that is done through therapy. But whatever we don't hug and acknowledge in pain only produces suffering. It takes our pain, it takes the thing we already shouldn't be dealing with or don't want to be dealing with, and makes it worse. So God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. This is my life, this is my reality. This is where the world is. That's a starting place for the second part of the prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change and the courage to change the things I can. There are two parts to this. One is, I don't like the options I have sometimes for what I can actually do. Can I have a conversation with my father? No, he's dead. He's been dead since I was 18 years old. I can't. But I can talk to the people that God's put in my life today that are present here now, to have the conversation I can have. I can pray a conversation. I can talk to God about it. For some of you, and you talk directly to your relatives that have passed. I've written letters. Is that what I want? No, but I can't change the fact I can't have it. But I can have the courage to do what I can do today. Do I want to talk to a new person at a meeting so that I can get the support that I need? No. When I got sober, I didn't want to talk. I was 19 years old. I wanted my recovery to be my friends, my family, and Pamela Anderson. None of those people were able to help me. The thing I needed courage to do was to talk to Richie and Eddie and Brenda and Slim and the people that were there that could actually help me. And that took a lot of courage because I was scared. I was used to the familiar. And I needed to break out of the familiar and the fantasy and have the courage to change the things I could. And what I could change is I could get help. I could do that with the people that were in my life that day. But I needed courage to do that. What do you need courage today to do? What thing are you afraid of or avoidant of? Is it filling out the rest of your taxes? Is it calling the person that you know you need to call, but you've been avoiding that by streaming Netflix for the past 6 weeks? Whatever it is, courage to do what I can do. And also, I just want to add this on because it's important. Sometimes our heads dismiss what we can do as too small. And this is a huge addict thing. I heard Father Martin talk about this, and I heard myself in the message. We want to jump right to, I got my kids back. I got a job making 6 figures. All my family loves me again. We don't value the small incremental thing. And because we don't, because we say, well, that's unimportant, that's not enough, what's that going to do? Then we never get anything else. Because we've dismissed the first step to getting anything else is the small step, most valuable thing in the world. That's why the meetings, 12-step meetings, enforce again and again and again, just for today, one day. One day changes your life. If you keep adding, one day's up. But you got to start at one day. 1 minute changes the world. Once you start adding the minutes up, saving $10 a paycheck, paying $5 on the bill, is the incremental beginning, taking one class. We don't want to take a class. We want to start off with a master's. We don't have a master's. We don't have $1 million in the bank. Accept the things we cannot change. Courage. Save $5. Apply for a job. It doesn't have to be CEO of Time Warner. Just get a job. And then start building on that. Value the small thing. The Bible does this throughout everything. The Bible values 12 guys from an area that really didn't matter, that were a bunch of fishermen. Changed the world. One guy, one life, one righteous person. Changed all of creation. One lady threw a tiny bit of money, barely noticeable. And Jesus Christ said she gave more than anybody else. Value the small. Because the small is where the life is. The small is where the change is. The small is where your entire story shifts and becomes a whole nother story. If you only value the small thing. That you can change. That you can do. That is available to you today, that has power in it. Look at it, value it. Have the courage to do it. God, give us the courage to change the things we can. And in regard to the first part, serenity to accept the things we cannot change. Courage to change the things we can. This is where justice comes in. This is where trying to upend unjust systems. We're trying to defend the person that's being victimized. This is where this comes in. What can I do? Can I change all the evil systems in the world? No. But can I help somebody have a voice? Maybe I can. Can I raise my voice in opposition even if it is shouted down by the masses and nobody cares? Yes. Does that really matter? Yeah. Yeah, it does. Because somebody cared. And in the lives of the person, the people that are watching you, the Bible says the angels watch us. And that our behavior testifies to all of creation, the things we can't even see. Believe that or not, at the very least, I guarantee you the people that are watching you will care that you at least cared enough to do an inconsequential thing because it was right and because you cared. And that at least changes one person's world. Value that small thing. The wisdom to know the difference. We don't always see the difference. So our prayer today, I'd ask you to join in it with me. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Your will, not ours, be done. I love you guys. God bless you guys. Have an awesome day.